Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today on our 10 Capital Quick Pitch. We're really excited to have you guys here for our November edition. My name is Shane. I run the events over at 10 Capital Network, and we have 6 amazing companies here today joining us, as well as 2 awesome panelists. So I'm going to go ahead and bring everybody up now. And as they're coming up here, and Hall's going to take it away soon, but just want to remind everybody in the audience, if you do have a question, you can put that in our chat box. And please don't forget to answer the poll at the end of each pitch so we can gauge your interest there and follow up with you afterward. All right, Hall, go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thanks, Shane. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We have a great panel lineup here today for you. We're going to have 6 presenters today. Each one gets 15 minutes to pitch and answer questions. And we're going to have breakout rooms afterwards where each of these companies go that you can go follow up and ask more questions. I'll also run a breakout room called How 10 Works. So for those who want to know how the 10 Capital program works, I'll be in a breakout room to tell you more about it then. So before we go further, let's go ahead and meet our panel of investors today. First, we have Dan Delmar of the Virtual Angel Network. Dan, can you tell us more about yourself and your fund?
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. My career was as a strategy consultant at Bain for 5 years, Accenture for 3 years, and mostly my own consulting practice, so over several decades. And I also had a couple of corporate positions as VP of Strategic Planning, Corporate Development of Carrier Corporation, and most recent one for 6 years as an executive in IBM. So I was a founding member of the Harvard Business School Alumni Angels of New York 13 years ago, on their board for 6 years. But two and a half, almost 3 years ago now, I started this group, Virtual Angels Network. I'll move my head away a little bit. So it's what the name describes, totally virtual national group where we're interested in all sectors. And we bring the best companies from all over the country, the best applicants, startups to our members all over the country, all over North America, actually. So thanks for having me, Hall.
Great. Thanks for joining us. And our next panelist is Dave Friedman. He was an angel investor at the Tech Coast Angels. Dave, can you tell us more about yourself and your network there?
Sure. I'm currently chairman of Tech Coast Angels. We're a network of 400 plus accredited investors in 5 groups. Each group focuses a little differently on their investment thesis. We have Meta MEDA Angels, which is focuses on digital health, and they're a bunch of doctors, scientists, medical practitioners, and others focusing on later seed, early A. Then we have TCA Orange County, TCA LA, TCA Inland Empire, and Pasadena Angels, which is more of a technology entity where we invest in the United States and Canada and potentially in Israel through Meta Angels. My background is a tech executive for a variety of cachet name companies at US Cellular, at Boeing, where I put internet on airplanes. And I guess that's the one that you either like or you don't like, because now you have no respite from anything. But that was my big claim to fame, I guess. Lucky to be here. Welcome to be here. And I look forward to hearing all these presentations.
Great. So let's bring up our first one. We have Nathaniel Eberhardt of SilverBills. He'll be joining us here on stage in a moment. As I said before, he'll have 10 minutes to pitch his deal and have 5 minutes of Q&A from our panelists. For those in the audience, if you want to put in questions in the chat box, we'll call those out as we go. With that, Nathaniel, if you'd like to go ahead and load your slides up, you're ready to kick off.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for the opportunity to hear a little more about our company. We were founded as SilverBills in 2014 by an attorney who specialized in elder abuse and fraud prevention. We are rebranding as HeyTrust as of January 1st of this year, and that's the name you'll see for the rest of this presentation. We were founded to take care of 2 interrelated issues that affect older adults and the disabled. Those issues are bill payment and also mail management. Obviously, with that demographic, those 2 very significantly interact with the majority of older adults paying their bills directly through paper statements, and fully 30% of people over 70 never having used a smartphone or the internet. So the consequences of not dealing with bill payment are obvious: unpaid bills, overspending, impaired credit, wasted time, anxiety, and impaired services. And obviously, as you age, cognitive and physical issues can impair your ability to do things like write checks, deal with phone systems, and otherwise interact with your vendors. And the time wasted on bill payment, even if you can do those things, can take away quality time with family. Obviously, lots of mail related to bills can pile up, and that can be a problem in and of itself. So our solution is two services: one digitally based PayTrust Standard, and the other PayTrust Platinum, which comes with an account manager. PayTrust Platinum also is the basically the legacy service, formerly SilverBills. For PayTrust Standard, we offer an all-in digital bill pay service that also takes care of both your physical mail and email related to bills by offering a physical PO box and a digital email inbox to which you can redirect all bill related correspondence. Users can connect any bank account to the service and manage all of their spending in one place, and payment out can be made by ACH, check, Zelle, or card. On the Platinum option, which is significantly more expensive, you do get a US-based account manager who can interact with your vendors on your behalf, basically push all the buttons in the digital experience that the PayTrust Standard user does directly. So those are our three pillars of service: that mail and email inbox, the web and app portal, and for those who want it, the account manager. We also have widgets for fraud and identity theft protection, global expense categorization, tax liaison, and trust spending administration. The PayTrust Bill Pay Engine, as I mentioned, can take in bills from any source and pay them out in any way. And we rely for a significant portion of that on Fidelity Information Service, FIS's core Fusion bill pay engine. The majority of our people do receive most of their bills through the mail, but we get significant amounts through these other means as well. And we have the option to take a picture of a bill and upload it through our app. Here's a bit of the experience. You can see our bill pay dashboard here, a detail of a bill payment. One innovation that we really are bringing that is very key is optical character recognition from OpenAI that recognizes certain bill attributes. FIS uses this already for Fusion, and we're integrating a lot of it for the physical mail piece. We are planning on expanding other pieces of AI functionality in the near future to add further scalable pieces to our service, more financial advice, more intelligent alerts, and an improved budgeting process. So our differentiators really make us the only option that is both affordable and scalable for someone who doesn't want to do bill pay entirely themselves. Obviously, if an older adult wants to and can use Prism, Quicken, or Bank Auto Pay, those are completely acceptable solutions. And if someone's a digital native and can operate those mechanics effectively, it's a great way to handle your spending. If you don't want to do that, however, the options for you are incredibly limited. There is an industry called daily money managers, which I doubt if anyone on this call is hugely familiar with, but there are about 10,000 of them in the United States. They generally go into people's homes and just get on their computer or write checks for them for their bills, charging an hourly rate. Many accountants do offer this service as an add-on to your regular accounting, but you're paying an accountant's hourly rate there, and their data protection and scalability, it's just not their specialty. Also, for high net worth individuals, many wealth managers and trust advisors do offer this, but obviously that's only for people whose net worth is high enough that they can afford a service like that. So really, we are bringing with our PayTrust Platinum option a pretty incredibly low price when you think about all that you get for that $150 a month. You get that mailbox and email inbox. You get the app to look at certain things if you want. You can get all of your bills sent to you by mail along with our monthly statement. So replace all of your individual bills you're receiving with one envelope, which has everything in it. For PayTrust Standard, it is a completely intuitive, very easy to use app that basically tries to make what many people do through Prism Quicken or Bank AutoPay much, much easier. And obviously with the addition of that mail and email integration, it cuts down on a lot of the work and time that many people have to use to do that. So as I mentioned, FIS is a hugely important partner for us in this endeavor. Obviously, their core Fusion bill pay engine. They're also providing us with a digital mailroom and scanning facility under contract, and we're using them for remote customer support. They've also sold us the PayTrust Business and brand name and legacy customers, which number currently just under 10,000. So we transacted with them on a 5-year interest-free secured promissory note in July. We've been building out all of our technical systems with them over the past few months. We've had over 22% conversion since we started our conversion process about 40 days ago. And we're hoping to get at least 5,000 of the 9,000 converted over by the deadline of December 27th of this year. These customers have been around at PayTrust a long time. That 20-year average customer tenure is pretty huge. That ARR of 1.2 million is as of August, and we're hoping with a conversion rate of even just 40% to get that up to 2 million as of this January. The market opportunity for this is huge. Obviously, for most older adults don't even know that a bill pay service is available. It's not a widely known service, and certainly not at the low price that we're offering. We do have some Medicare relationships already. We also have city contracts with New York City and 5 other municipalities to provide our service to their residents. We're working on some wealth manager relationships as well. We've also received $4.4 million of non-dilutive grants from the National Institutes of Health. It just shows their recognition of this as a massive societal problem. First of these was specifically focused on building out our tool for caregivers for Alzheimer's. The second was focused on LGBTQ older adults who are especially impacted by the bill pay issue because they are less likely to have adult children to help them. And that adult children is actually the most common way that those who do need help get it for the bill pay problem. We also have a contract with both Humana and United Healthcare in their Medicare value added services program. So these contracts are relatively limited in that members just get a discount on our services. What we're hoping with the validation from the NIH is to actually be in their bid for the 2025 plan year for both of those companies. And if we can achieve that, that in and of itself will drive an enormous amount of growth apart from those other sources above that I mentioned. We also have access to data for over 100,000 former PayTrust clients, and we'll be marketing to them in 2025 as well. There are a couple of the milestones that we're hoping to hit next year. Our projected gross margins will be pretty healthy, and that's our overall revenue forecast. We're looking to raise $2 million, of which 17% has already been funded. That's at an $8 million valuation. And we have concessions from current note holders to make this sort of a recapitalization. Thank you so much for listening. Happy to take any questions.
Great, Nathaniel. Dan, what's your first question?
Well, I guess my first of all, Nathaniel, it was very interesting company and the way that you put the business together. One of the big concerns of older people and everybody in our society is security and trust. And you're asking your customers to trust you a great deal with all the financial information they're providing you. Can you tell me how you have and will address that?
Sure. It is the single biggest objection that we do get when we do sign people up. And that has made it in the past something of a multi-step process. Obviously, anyone calls their son, daughter, attorney and says someone wants, to have access to my money, that's obviously a concern. So we've addressed that mostly via technology. We do have a SOC 2 certification that we achieved last year, but really the mechanism by which we actually do the spending is much more secure and scalable than anyone else who operates in this business. We open a bank account on the client's behalf with our clients at Grasshopper Bank. All they have to do is enter in a secure form the funding accounts that they want to use, just the account number and routing number. They don't have to give us access to their actual banking portal. And then per their instructions, we'll make pulls for any bills that they want us to pay from that designated funding account to that bill pay bank account and make the payments out from there. So it does mean that we never need anyone's actual login information to their primary bank account, which is a big help. Still, you're right that in just the nature of our activities make them very sensitive, and our customer retention rate is 90% because we've never had a claim or accusation of doing anything wrong. But we're hoping that as we gain more credibility in the marketplace and become larger, that concern will fade. And obviously, we have been in business for almost 9 years with no problems of that in that sense of any kind.
Great, thanks. Dave, what's your first question?
Yeah, I have lots of questions, which may be good, may not be good. I didn't quite catch your revenue. Can you put that chart back up?
Sure.
And you said you have currently 1.2 million ARR. What was your revenue in November or October of this year?
So, sorry.
Yeah,
so those revenues are actually based mostly on this PayTrust acquisition. Our current revenue run rate for SilverBills, just the concierge business, is about $250,000 a year. Our revenues for October with the PayTrust acquisition included were just under $125,000 a year. That's with the old pricing structure. I talked about converting customers over to us, over to the new service. So what that means is instead of paying the $10 average price that they were paying before, they'll now be paying between $20 and $40. So
so your revenue in 2023 will be 850,000 projected, right?
That's right. Yes.
That's including everything. Or how much is just, forget the stuff that FIS gives you or something, how much from your clients based upon 1999? And do you have a pro forma for 5 years?
Yes.
You didn't show it though, right?
No, I mean, these charts are based on that, but I have a full data room, which includes the pro forma. Yes.
All right, so I'll give you a couple of quick comments. Number one, if I'm going to look at something with an $8 million cap, I don't care what the cap is, but I really need to understand, is this good or bad relative to what you're going to earn in terms of revenue, what you're going to have in terms of the different, splits in revenue, how much you're going to get in the 1999 variety versus the 150 variety. So right now it's a head scratcher to me. I think you should look at, I like your channel strategy, that makes sense, but I'd also want to understand more about your sales and marketing. I also think there's a company that you need to look at that might be really good for a variety of reasons called Aura, A-U-R-A. They're a financial company that, checks my accounts, that makes sure no one is doing something untoward. I also wonder long term if in fact this is a sustainable business because people are getting smarter and in using technology. I use, the banking app. I do not pay a penny for the bank by mail, by ability to go in there. So I don't know why you have $20. Maybe it's other banks, but I'm using Wells Fargo and they're cheap as shit. So if they don't charge, I don't think anyone else does. So there are things that I like, but there are things that are concerning.
Got it.
Great.
Thank you. And I know my time is up, but I appreciate all those questions, and I'd love to address them if time allows in the breakout.
All right. Great questions. Great feedback. Thanks, Nathaniel. Next up is going to be Buddy Lyons of Entac Medical. Buddy, come on up to the stage and we'll kick off with your presentation. Hey, Buddy, thanks for joining us.
Hi, how are you, Hall?
Doing good, doing good. Looking forward to catching up here. Get your slides up. We'll be ready. And
Okay, are we ready?
we see them now. Go ahead.
Okay, hi, I'm Buddy Lyons. I'm the CEO of Entac Medical. We're a commercial digital health company developing acoustic analytic and AI devices to predict serious adverse events. We just launched our first product, PreviCA, in the first quarter with 20 reps into a $1.5 billion US market. We've got several avenues of traction going on right now with 6 hospital systems representing about 48 hospitals in various stages of value analysis, discussing a 70 plus hospital state surgical collaborative joining that, and additional 6 hospital systems pursuing our ambulatory collective collaborative, which we're beginning to roll out this quarter, which we'll all talk about all that. Our current financing is a convertible note, $2 million, 20% discount to a price around an $8 million cap. It was increased from $1.5 million. We've got $1.825 million committed so far with a year-end close. And we're very happy that Clinical Technology, Inc., which is the primary sales organization for PreviCA, has made 2 major investments in us based on their belief that PreviCA can change the major abdominal surgical market. So the first condition that we're predicting is postoperative ileus, which is acute paralysis of the GI tract that begins 2 to 10 days after surgery. It is the most common complication in up to 30% of patients. There are other downstream adverse events from it: dehydration, kidney injury, and aspiration pneumonia. It's the leading cause of readmission at 20% and the leading cause of prolonged unnecessary length of stay. Problem right now is that patients who are at risk cannot be identified. And so you run these patients through a couple of different protocols that increase patient risk, and hospital lose money on every procedure. Some people do delayed oral refeeding where they don't feed them for several days and delayed discharge. You get 0 readmissions for that, but you're holding 80% of your patients 3 to 5 days longer than necessary and losing on average $11,000 per case and increasing the risk of hospital-acquired conditions to your patient. Some places do early oral refeeding and early discharge, and you get a lower length of stay. You lose less money, only $4,000, but you have a 20% readmission rate, and you increase the risk of an adverse event happening after discharge. So obviously, neither one of these is ideal or optimal for the patient, for the hospital, the payer, or anybody. What PreviCA does is it is precision medicine and post-op care. It proactively identifies patients that are at risk so that they can personalize refeeding and discharge strategies to optimize the length of stay and reduce readmissions. It's placed on the patient within an hour of surgery, and it quantifies an acoustic biomarker, and this is kind of the discovery that we call MH4. At post-op hour 12, with that quantification of MH4, it predicts whether the patient is going to have postoperative ileus. So what does this do? So by personalizing post-op care in low-risk patients, you can do early refeeding and early discharge, reducing the length of stay by 3 to 5 days. In high-risk patients, you can do delayed refeeding and discharge, which reduces the readmission rate from about 20% down to less than 5%. You increase your patient safety, and you turn all those losses that you got in hospital, that hospitals are losing in doing all these cases, into profits, because we're in a fixed payment system, and saving hospital days is very important. The way we demonstrate this to hospitals is we do a peer comparison versus other hospitals based on average length of stay, based on data that they report to Medicare, so they really can't argue with us on this. This particular hospital is a fourth quartile hospital, which means they have a very long average length of stay versus their peers. In this particular hospital, we could save them up to four patient days on average, lower risk readmissions by 43%, reduce patient risk. And we have a very extensive budget impact model that was actually designed by a third-party health economics firm, showing them in intestinal surgery only, it's almost a $10 million positive budget impact. If you move that out to major abdominal surgery, which is about 5 times the number of procedures, it could be as much as $50 million in positive budget impact for the hospital with better patient care and safer patient care. This is what we believe is going to be a major driver in 2024 and 2025. There's a huge interest in ambulatory surgery, ambulatory colectomy in particular, with 1-day length of stay. Right now, this is proven to be able to do this. What has hindered this is the inability to predict postoperative ileus, which patients are not going to develop that, so you can let them go after 24 hours. Patients do better at home for sure, and it's safer for them actually to be at home if they're not going to develop that ileus at home. Previs-CA has a 95% negative predictive value, which means that if the device says the patient's not going to develop a postoperative ileus, it's correct 95% of the time. And you can do this in, we believe, up to 30% of cases, reducing length of stay 3 to 7 days and saving greater than $10,000 per case. Lots of interest in this among both administrators and surgeons across the country. The market here, total market globally, is about $6.5 billion, we believe. In the US and the EU, it's about $1.5 billion in each of those markets. It is a single-use device. We have 20 contract sales organization and 1099 reps in the field who directly engage surgeons to identify surgeon champions who present to value committees. We also go to conferences to meet other surgeons around the country. The average selling price of $600 provides about an 8 to 10 times ROI for most hospitals. And it has an 80% gross margin at scale. This demonstrates where we are in the country with salespeople and clinical sites and what we're doing to drive adoption. We're going to expand our sales force from the 20 to probably 32 by the end of next year. We got an expanded label in major abdominal surgery earlier this year, which was a major milestone for us, and increased our market size by 5 times to $1.5 billion. Our ambulatory colectomy, we've got lots of hospitals who are interested in doing this. We're rolling it out this quarter. We've already got 6 centers in there, and we're guaranteeing the performance of the device. We've already gone over the traction where we've got 6 hospitals going through various stages of value committee. We've got 8 clinical sites who want to use the device when the clinical trial is over, additional 6 who are already interested in ambulatory colectomy, and that 70 hospital state surgical collaborative that we're going to get into to join as part of their collaborative in major abdominal surgery. This all led us to our domain expertise in acoustics, led us to Previs-AI, which is a rapid development acoustic IoT wearables platform. We've already started developing the 2nd generation device that will replace Previs-CA and expect the 510K in 2025. Why do we do this? The algorithms in the cloud, we can handle ambient noise better there with AI algorithms. It's more accurate out of the box. It has continuously improved performance, and it's half the cost of a Previs-CA device. So we'll be probably moving that in the market sometime late 2025. And it's opened up for us Previs-AI Heart and Lung, which is using the same technology to predict conditions in outpatients, such as a bronchospasm in an asthma patient or decompensation in CHF. If you know that that's going to happen sometime in the near future, the physician can intervene to stop it and hopefully stop a hospitalization or something worse from happening. You'll see some data in that program by the end of this year. We have a very experienced management team. I've been a CEO of 3 digital health companies. John Cromwell is a colorectal surgeon at the University of Iowa who's developed this technology. We have a very experienced board who's very active in this, who have several exits under their belt. And on the sales management side, both in the contract sales and the 1099 sales force, we have deep experience there. So we're highly capital efficient. We got Previs-CA to market from being an idea on a piece of paper through the FDA and total corporate expenses of less than $3.75 million. The current convertible note captures rapidly developing milestones, including Previs-CA revenue generation. We've extended that round to a $2 million round with the close of the end of the year. We've got 8.25 committed, and some of the things that will support is Previs-CA hospital contracts and revenue generation, proof of concept in Previs AI, heart and lung, and the national rollout of the ambulatory colectomy. And then in 2024, 2025, expanding Previs EA, expanding the collaborative FDA and CE mark submissions in 2025 and partnerships as well. And also exit discussions with strategics that we know are interested in Previs EA and the other platform. That is the story of Entac Medical. What questions do you have?
Thank you, buddy. Dave, what's your first question?
Yeah. So, again, you're in revenue right now.
No, we should be in revenue in the first half of next year.
Then, I'll tell you all the other ones that are coming out that are listening. If you don't tell me what your pro forma is, I don't understand if your valuation makes sense or not, frankly. And I don't know what your exit is, because we as angels and investors want to find out our return. So that's a big issue. I like the fact that you have 6 hospitals. You raised 6.1 million to date.
Yes.
Why is your valuation only 8 mil?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. First of all, we're in flyover country, which is where the valuations are less, and there's less capital there. And capital, raising capital is still a business to business, a person to person kind of thing. If we'd done this in Silicon Valley, we'd probably be out by now. That's one thing. Secondly, it's a very tough market out now for raising money, actually. And thirdly, what we're doing in postoperative ileus is not the cure for cancer. It's not diabetes. It's not something people have a real intuitive understanding of. And I think sometimes people have a difficulty.
Which goes back to my other comment in terms of valuation relative to exit. So let me cut to the chase here. Here's what I would see. You answered almost all my questions that I had written down. So I think your presentation was really good. And I like the fact that you're a multiple entrepreneur with exits. Who was your IP from?
Arnold Gregory in Washington, D.C. We have 3
No,
patents.
not the.
The original IP. The original. Yeah. We licensed the original IP from the University of Tennessee Research Foundation, which is where John Cromwell was at the time.
Worldwide, indefinite license, open-ended.
Yeah, global. We have all rights to it. There's no.
All right. So just my final comment. Sorry for taking a little longer, Paul. I'd like you to present to a group that we do at TCA called Medical Monday, where we have Chalk Hospital as well as Hoag Hospital as members of the group. If this, but it's like a pre-screening with a variety of angel groups, including TCA, LSA, and others.
Sure. Absolutely. We'd love to.
I'll send you contact info. Send me some stuff. I'll introduce you to our exec director.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. Dan, what's your first question?
Well, buddy, I thought you did a great job on communicating to people who aren't familiar with the problem, what the problem is, how you're solving it, and more importantly, the economics, the benefit to the hospitals. Of course, it's all based on the efficacy of your device, and I wanted to know more, see more about the trials that you've completed and what the results were. There was one slide that had one hospital and so forth, but I'd like to know
we try to go into it if I have more time. So basically, Dan, we've completed 3 different clinical trials. The proof of concept trial, then we did what we call the pre-optimization trial, and then we did the last trial was called the optimization trial. In those trials, the sensitivity of the device, sensitivity and negative predictive value are very key here, and the device is calibrated to maximize those 2 things. Sensitivity because you want to catch all the patients, right? And then negative predictive value in order to minimize false negatives. A false negative is much more unsafe for the patient than a false positive is. So the sensitivity of the device is about 86%, and the negative predictive value is 95%. And in clinical practice, those are the 2 most important performance statistics in there. And it's very consistent across the trials. The sensitivity and negative predictive value are very in that sort of range through the trials. But we have more data on that we could send you.
Yeah, I think you should put a little bit more, like one slide into your deck, and try and condense a little all of the other information. I think your communicating the benefits of the economic benefits is maybe a little overly detailed or repetitive. I'd also be interested in understanding more about the competition, which I think you said doesn't exist, but I'd like to know what the as a non-med tech investor, what physicians are doing now before they discharge somebody from the hospital. Are they listening to the gut themselves, or is it based on whether they've passed stool, or what the existing competition, because there's never a situation where there's no competition.
Right, well, exactly. And our competition is really sort of the status quo and the protocols that are going on now. And so, like I told you before, there's two different ways surgery is done, basically the post-operative care. And one of them is delayed oral refeeding, delayed discharge. Some surgeons will just hold a patient. We've seen surgeons hold patients for up to 4 days and give them nothing but clear liquids until they have passing of gas or a bowel movement or something like that that's supposed to give them an indication that the GI function has returned to normal.
Yeah.
That's not always the case. You can have a bowel movement on post-op day 2 and have an ileus on post-op day 7, but that's what they do. But they hold the patient for like 8 to 12 days, and so they hold them through the entire period. So you're holding 70 to 80% of your patients who are not at risk this very long time, and you're losing lots of money, and you're leaving a patient in the hospital, which is never a good thing. The other end of this is ERAS, Enhanced Recovery After Surgical Protocols, which they feed them within the first 24 hours, and as soon as they can ambulate and they appear to tolerate a diet, and their pain is controlled, they let them go, and that's usually within 5 days. The problem with that is it drives a really, really high readmission rate of over 20%. It's the leading cause of readmission. That's why and that's what they do. So that's how they're dealing with the issue now. And you're either holding them for a long time or letting them go early and lowering the place. So neither one is optimal.
That part was well communicated, very clear.
Great.
And by the way, congratulations on getting FDA cleared. That's a
thank you, Dan. Appreciate that.
huge benefit.
Thanks, buddy. Great presentation. Let's bring up our next presenter, Cecile Vieni of Hyprevention.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Cecile Vieni. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hyprevention. I have established Hyprevention with a spine surgeon in order to develop the strut plastic technology. And the purpose of this technology is to reinforce the weakened bone because of osteoporosis or cancer. And today we have one product available on the US market. The product we have developed is to address problem of vertebral fractures. In the US, there is about 750,000 vertebral fractures each year, among which 250,000 lead to a surgical treatment. Most of these fractures are due to osteoporosis, about 75%, 20% are due to cancer, and 5% are due to trauma. And in case of osteoporosis, there is a big issue that is a problem of adjacent fracture. After a first fracture, the patient will have another fracture at another level for about 25% within 6 months. So what we want to address with our product is really to prevent this, treat the fracture and prevent the adjacent fracture, because this adjacent fracture lead to affect the quality of life of the patient and lead to additional costs. So our solution is an implant made of polymer, and this polymer called PIC is similar to the normal bone. And using our device, we reinforce the full vertebrae in order to absorb the stress received on the vertebrae with the PIC polymer. And of course, doing that, we prevent adjacent fracture. So our product is patented, and also we received the FDA clearance in 2021. Therefore, our product is available on the market. In terms of competition, there is no solution today able to reduce the adjacent fracture. The current And most common treatment are vertebroplasty or kyphoplasty, where cement is injected in the vertebral body of the vertebrae. And with this technique, we have about 25% of adjacent fracture. More recently, the metallic implant, spine jack or kyphoplasty by implant was introduced on the market, but with this product, we still have 10% of adjacent fracture. Actually, I developed this product before in a French company that was acquired by a US company. And now with a V-strut, what we really want to achieve is reduce this adjacent fracture, providing a very easy technique for the implantation and a very affordable cost for the product. So the company is French. We started the company in France, where today we do research and development, patent, quality, and manufacturing. And in 2021, we established a subsidiary in the US. It's a Delaware C Corp. And the purpose was really to develop the commercialization of our product in the US. We have a medical advisory board with mainly doctors from the US, and we have an executive team with mainly salespeople to promote this product. So as I said, the product is manufactured in Europe, from France, but most of the manufacturers are in France. Then we ship the product to our US company. And from this warehouse, where we have our product, we are able to deliver our product to our end users. And our end users are mainly hospital, but also surgical center or OBL. When the product is sold in hospital, we have a very high reimbursement, so we could have a high price, but the process approval in hospital is long. And that's why, in parallel to that, we work with a surgical center, OBL, where the access is really quicker, but the pricing is lower, mainly because of the reimbursement. And to promote our product in the field, we have 4 business development managers that we pay with a commission, and we also have sales agent, non-stocking distributor that promote our product and sell our product on the market, the US market. In terms of our roadmap, we get the 510K in 2020, then we get the reimbursement coding for our device. We launched it in 2022, and this year we plan to have a breakthrough, to apply for a breakthrough designation for another device that corresponds to the same technology, the strut plastic, using this PEEK polymer. And this device already has an experience in Europe. This device is a device to reinforce the hip and prevent hip fracture. Next year, we plan to launch more sizes in the US and more indication for our V-strut product. And in 2025, we will come up with a steroid kit for the instrument. So we have a plan to really improve our product and take into consideration the feedback we get from our users. In 2006, we plan to have a 510K also for our hip product. Why we believe we will be successful? We have a very good feedback from the users. From most of our users are interventional radiologists. They really like our technologies. They really like the technique. It's really straightforward. They understand the benefits. So we have very, very good feedback. It's a very good technique with very good clinical results in terms of pain reduction, in terms of fracture treatment and adjacent fracture prevention. We are unique with this solution, with a solution of reinforcing the entire vertebrae. We have a nice storytelling that the doctor like very much. As I said, I developed the spine jack before, then I developed this product, so it gives a lot of credibility to Hyprevention that we have really expertise for this field, for the vertebral fracture treatment. And also, we are targeting the largest indications, the largest market with osteoporotic fracture and cancer fracture. So we are really unique for that, and we are very confident for that. We have a very scientific approach. So we have, for the moment, 9 publications and more to come. I said we have FDA clearance. We have more than 25 patents. And we have good clinical outcome on more than 40 patients treated with our product. In terms of sales, so I said the product is reimbursed. We are introducing very big hospital like Mount Sinai in New York, Johns Hopkins, University of Miami, University of California, San Diego. So really, we have our product available in big institution, which is very good traction, actually. We have for the moment revenue, cumulative revenue are more than $300,000, which is very promising. We have, as I said, we continue actually to work with the hospital in order to have a VAC approval, value analysis committee approval in more hospitals to have more customers. We are on a very highly dynamic market. So it's in the US for this year, it's about 500,000 market. And so only for vertebral fracture treatment. And with the aging population, this number should double in 2030. So it's a very big market, big opportunity. In terms of finance, so we plan to reach 20 million revenue. That's our goal for about 2026, 2027. It's really achievable. We have an average selling price at 3,500, and that means we will need to have 110 physicians doing a case per week in order to reach this number. So this is something really feasible to achieve. So today we are raising money in order to continue the development of the company. So we have a plan for 10 million fundraising in 3 tranches. So the tranche for the moment, the tranche 1, we are raising $2 million in order to reach the 1 million revenue, because we know that 1 million revenue, it's like the first goal, the first step we have to achieve. So in order to reach this revenue, we will have to develop our sales team. That's really what we need. We will need, of course, to promote the product, do marketing, train our users. As I explained, we will also provide new sizes, new indications. So there are some R&D and regulatory activity to be done. And finally, in our field, it's very important to have clinical data and to do scientific communication. So we have a post-market registry in progress. We have done 25 patients. And our goal with this 2 million is to go to 200 patients. And at that time, for this tranche, we have our current lead investor who is going to invest 1 million. So we already have 1 million and we are looking for 1 additional million. And then we will have a tranche 2 for 3 million. And the goal will be to go to 5 million revenue. And to increase our clinical experience and clinical data up to 500 patients, to be able to have scientific publication on this and develop the product for the hip. And we will have a third tranche of 5 million in order to go to our 20 million revenue and to expand our international development. We have some international development, but today our priority is really the US, because we know if we are successful in the US, we will be successful in the other countries. And as exit, we plan for an acquisition within 3 to 4 years. We estimate 200 million, and it's based on comparators mainly, with Stryker acquiring SpineJack, developed by a French company, for 185 million, just when they get the 510K and a bit less than 20 million revenue. And there is another big example, which is Boston Scientific, who acquired Vertiflex for almost 500,000 just with the 510K. So in terms of acquisition, this field is very dynamic. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Cecile. Dan, what's your first question?
Well, Cecile, thank you very much. Congratulations on getting your FDA approval and getting into the market. I have to tell you, I come with a bias. Although I was investing in public markets for decades, my first angel investment was in a spine-related company in artificial vertebrae replacement, and that did not turn out well. So, but that bias is not the reason why I'm going to say I and Virtual Angels Network would not be interested in your offering. One reason is just us. We're not. We don't go beyond North America. So the implication might be if you, I know you have a U.S. company, but it sounds like it's more like a marketing one. If you turn this into an investment in a U.S. company, then it would be of greater interest. But even without that, the idea of investing at this point in your company in common shares is just doesn't fly for we angel investors. And I saw that you didn't have a valuation proposed on the prior slide, slide 13. Is that because well, if you have a lead investor, you should have some sort of valuation or.
Yeah, we have a valuation. The company valuation is $22 million.
Yeah, you should definitely communicate that.
Yes.
Great, thanks. And Dave, your first question?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll question or give comments or both. What was your revenue this year? What's your expected revenue in 2023?
So we expect to be between 250 and 300,000.
All right. So to me, that's not bad, but to me that becomes an issue relative to the valuation at 20 million. You see, angels have a predilection for things that relate to a 10x return, and you get perilously close probabilistically to hitting that at a $200 million exit. But that said, I mean, I like what you've done. I like the next product. If you're a US-based entity, we would invest. But here's a couple of suggestions. Number one, I think this would be an interesting one potentially for this group that we do called Medical Monday, and we get a variety of people, including Hogue Orthopedic, which might be interested. Number one, if you're in San Diego, I thought you said you did something in San Diego,
yeah,
with a hospital. Look at a group called Nufund, Nufund. I think that those two things may be a good start. Fundamentally, you answered basically, my questions in your presentation. I thought you did a very good job, very comprehensive. It's just a matter of whether or not it's on the fringe or not for a TCA investment.
and we know that we should move the company to the US, and it's not a problem for us. We know that it's it's something possible.
I'd like to see some of the. I mean, I've invested in a company called Curvifix, which does curved screws for pelvic fractures and other stuff too. So, I mean, I kind of like the space, but I'd like some of the doctors. So I'll send me something. I'll put you in touch with whoever runs, one of our people who runs Medical Monday. Take a shot, but again, Nufund would look at it. That may be a good start. The other one would be Cedars-Sinai up in LA.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Cecile.
Thank you very much.
And we'll bring up our next presenter now, Michael Hendricks of Allcanza.
Awesome. So we are Allcanza. I'm Michael Hendricks, the founder and CEO of Allcanza. We make immigration simple or easy. We are a vertical SaaS with artificial intelligence. I don't need to focus much on the problem. I think that we all know what the problem is with immigration, or that there is a major problem. You put different people in a room, they're going to say different things. Border wall, DACA, asylum, overrun borders. Whatever they say, they're going to agree that it's a major problem. They may not be able to agree on what it is, but it's a major problem. So we're helping to resolve those issues. And these are some of the issues that we see in immigration as some of the main problems. We are disrupting the legal tech market. So our backbone is focused right now on the product of immigration. The backbone can be used for a lot of things because the system is very adaptive. But obviously, we're working on solving many of these problems. The immigration market has difficulties, technical challenges, no scalable solutions. So right now, you only have two solutions to a problem, and that's file on your own with an 80% fail rate, or hire an attorney for an extremely high amount, a lot of frustration. So we're trying to bridge that gap with technology. There's a high barrier to entry for competition against us. There's nobody really competing in the same space exactly. And so because you have to get money, expertise, tech expertise, and a lot of attorneys don't use tech or understand it the way that they probably should, being in the space that they're in. And I'm an attorney, I can say that. And you need a system that's highly adapted to change, because although the law has been around since 1952 in its same format, it does have a constant ebb and flow with the processing, the ways that forms are done, the structure of forms. You have to make sure you have all that done. So you have to get expertise, time, money, and tech all in the same place. That's very difficult to do. We are, like I said, we're multilingual, AI driven, and we're affordable, about 30% of what you're going to pay with a traditional attorney. It works very simply through a find, file, and fill and file application. That means you find your eligibility, you fill out your process, and then you file it. This is super simple. Anyone can use it. It's available in over 125 languages currently. And we also have the B2B service, which is attorneys or non-attorneys who are eligible to file immigration paperwork would basically get an application in, use the back office, but then the Allcanza human resource and the AI mostly would do most of the work and then hand it back to be sent in. And then we have the B2B enterprise, which is a 100% subscription based for attorneys and non-attorneys that are eligible. We do have an advantage in that we have Leo. Leo stands for Legal Efficiency Operator. He is our competitive advantage. He is one of a kind in the sense that most GPTs, these AIs that are built on large language models, are done in a way that they have way too much information. So they consume information offline about everything. What we've done is we have a broken down version all the way down to the nuts and bolts engine, and then we built our own corpus on top of it. So it's an expert in the area of immigration alone. And we have various automated agents that function on that, whether it's the operations of our system, the file and fill, or actual generative, which is responsive to people's questions. And then we constantly cycle this through using my brain as an expert immigration attorney to fine tune these answers. And we're currently at about a 90% accuracy rating. And that's only with about 6 or 7 epochs. As we get closer to 100 epochs, we're hoping to get up to 98 to 99% accuracy rating. Checking my time here. Okay, so the advantage that we provide, for instance, for a B2B, currently we can do it one of two ways. Either we help a law firm expand and grow efficiently, which means they don't have to add staff, so they're just adding money to their revenue, their actual cash flow in the sense of income. The net income, or we help them be able to keep their same load, but yet through atrophy or getting rid of staff, they're able to improve their efficiencies there too. For the D2C side, we have 2 different versions of this. We have local guides that are called local guides, and they're people locally that are already inserted into the immigrant community. They're already doing something, taxes, fingerprinting, all kinds of services, and also immigration, and they're able to offer it directly. But right now, there's no easy to use information center. Leo provides that. He will be free on our website and on our native app, which no one else has either. Right now, you have to go to an attorney to get expert advice. This will allow you to be able to obtain expert advice without the frustration, the cost, and the time of having to go to an attorney. Our total market just in the U.S. is 10.5 billion. When I say just in the U.S., I mean that there are millions of people that apply abroad every year. We've seen that this is about 2 times higher than the U.S. market as it is currently stated, because this is just immigration fees to attorneys in the U.S. alone. So we have probably closer to a 20 billion. It's hard to get the exact numbers on that, just because there are no real reports on people, what they pay for abroad to do their services. So we'll be able to bring them in because it's international. As you can see, there's 10 to 12 million people a year that apply from abroad. Our beachhead market, currently, we've already served 250 plus folks. Year to date, we're at 110,000. We're looking to double that here in November and December. We're on track for that. And as far as who we're looking for, the ideal customer is under 45, mostly because of technology, high school education, mostly because of technology. $40,000 a year to under about 120, because over 120, they're probably just going to say, I'll just pay more to not have any hassle. And so that's about $2.5 million people per year, I apologize. And that totals about 1.2 billion. That's our beachhead. The B2B target is immigration law firms and other law firms that are wanting to expand their access with less than 10 employees, annual revenue 500,000 to $1 million, and also new entrants. That's about 3,500 people per year, offices per year, which is about 21 million in subscription revenue. Our model, we're already revenue, we're already in the market, as you can tell. We're looking to have 50 local guides all around the country by the end of the year. We're already over 40. We're very choosy. We've had 300 people apply and we only have allowed 40. The other ones become affiliates. They just refer. Of course, I've become one of the top names in immigration in the social networks. So I do a show every day, and now I have a podcast coming out. And I do them in both English and Spanish. I speak a bunch of languages, but English and Spanish are my primaries. And so we're looking for returns on that. 30 enterprises, which are both the local people, the non-attorney immigration consultants. Currently, California is the only one with that group of people that are certified by the state, but there are approximately 3,000 of them in California. We already have 20 of them ready to sign up. I'm working on the contracts now. And so we'll add law firms onto that as well. Law firms take a little bit longer because they tend to be globbed onto whatever tech they're already using. So it takes a little bit longer to move them over. But we will, because we have the best system. Future government contracts is the only time I mention this, because they don't have an open RFP right now, but the Department of Homeland Security, it does all of immigration through USCIS, which is in the country, and the Department of State does an exterior. And we would be looking to contract with them. Currently, USCIS could easily do a contract of $500 million a year. Their budget is $5.2 billion, and most of that is spent on processing. And so if we're able to process faster and better, then we can increase their efficiency and reduce their cost. And we're also expanding internationally. We already have 5 countries that want to come on board as like international franchises. They're still going to be owned by us, but they'll be quasi franchises, the best model to talk about them. And so we'll bring them on in Q1 of 24. I'm not going to go through each one of these. These are the breakdowns, very detailed. If you have questions about what we offer, I will say that I did a pitch where they were asking, are we trying to target people who came in undocumented or people who came in documented? And the answer is yes. So immigration is very static. It has certain pathways that you can take. And generally, everyone has to start off on one pathway, which is a petition. And then you have different processes, but there's still only like 3 or 4 processes beyond that. Now, forms are different. The way you do them is a little bit different. But for our system, that doesn't matter. We are currently running, as mostly projected, the last 2 months, we have seen a dip. And that is because of the move from the direct sales model to the local guides model, but they've onboarded, the pipelines are filling up. And so this month, we're on target to do 40. Next month, looking to be on target to do 70, which would put us right at the double for the year for 220. There are a couple of people operating in a similar space where basically they just have you fill out stuff online and then they do it in-house and they send it to you. There's nothing that has AI, nothing that has a native app, and nothing that's competing on an immediate fill and file format. So there's a lot of takeaways from that. This also talks about our technological advantage. Obviously, I just touched on those. There are a few exit strategies we have available. Of course, Intuit owns TurboTax, and TurboTax is an administrative legal tech where they help people submit their taxes online. Everybody knows that. More likely, it would be like Lidos, who already is processing millions of forms. Actually, I think it's 100 million forms every year for the IRS. And so they'd be more likely. We could also talk about going public in the future, but I do believe it's a little premature for that. We have an incredible team that has grown and has really developed. Each one of them has an expertise that they're bringing to the table. For instance, Lily, our guide trainer, she's been with me working in the law for over 10 years. So we have an expert team of people who are able to put this thing together. We have a good advisory board as well, and we're looking at creating more spaces on the advisory board. So the ask is $500,000 for on a $4.5 million pre-money valuation is a preferred equity purchase. Mostly that's going to be used to expand to help finish out our native application design and implementation, continued software development. Most of that is actually done now, and marketing. So I'm going to open it up to questions, but there's a non-sound video that's going to happen, and you'll just be able to see our product while you ask questions.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Dave, what's your first question?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen you at least once before. I like it. Is there any IP?
So the IP, the most of our IP has to do with our corpus for our AI. So there's a big difference between what we're using and like a regular GPT. So we're using the Llama 2 model that's in production and is licensable.
It's secret, right?
Yes, sir. So that way it doesn't get, the problem with GPTs is they leak data. So ours doesn't. We own it. It's ours, and it's a brain, right? So it ends up being the biggest intellectual property that we have at this point.
Yeah, and I like the valuation. What's your revenue in 2023?
So we're at 110 so far as of last month, and we're on track to double that in November and December.
Now, have you applied to TCA before?
Yes, sir. I was actually on a pitch earlier today with you guys.
That's where I found it. I missed that one because I had to drop off. How did that go? I'll find out.
It went well. Phil contacted me within minutes and said I passed through to the second. I was in the pre-screen, so now I'm
okay. Good. So I'm not totally stupid because I would have passed you through also.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, right. I'm glad. It's amazing. I mean, I thought I figured out that I thought I saw you before even TCA. At some other group, but anyway, I'm glad you passed through it. I know I've seen you before, other than at the TCA. I think, whatever the case is, I'm glad. That's good to hear.
Thanks, sir.
Great thing. And Dan, your first question?
Well, I have questions and comments. First of all, I do understand the need, given that I was 40 years in this country before I became a citizen coming from Canada, and I'm a advisor to a legal tech company that uses AI in Connecticut. I thought my main question is I wasn't clear on your go-to-market plans. How are you going to market and sell to your two different markets?
So we're already in the market. So there are two main veins. Number one is more of a direct-to-consumer. It's really B to small b to C. And the reason that is because there are operators in the field that don't have access to any technology. They're either called notarios, which means they're not a licensed person doing this, or they're immigration consultant in California. These people are already doing this. And then there are other groups that are already in the immigrant community. So we're just bringing them into the fold and allowing them to start off a product. So this is not a legal offering. We're not providing representation. It is literally a product like a cash and carry Snickers bar, right? You buy the product, you determine eligibility through our system that I built, so it's authorized, and then you buy the product and you do it with the guide, both the AI internally and the local guide. The other one is the B2B directly, which would be to law firms and non-licensed people. Sorry, I was moving into Spanish. Immigration consultants in like California, where they don't want you to give them the support. They just want to use your system. And so that's on a monthly. We already have 20 people ready. I'm writing the contract. We already have 20 people ready to go in California for that. It starts at $300 a month for 50 tokens. After 51 tokens in the year, you move up to $400 a month. So it's a scaled, and they're just dying for it, clamoring. I should be talking about going to California. I should be doing a presentation to several hundred people in California in January. It's these groups of people who are looking for tech like this that's not available today.
Michael, I think I should communicate that I had some trouble with your communications. I think the deck could be clearer. For maybe one example is the slide that has your actual revenue curve going way up right through December of this year, which we haven't achieved yet. And you're saying that actually that there's been a dip. That's confusing. Your competitive comparison, I would prefer to be in the typical matrix kind of comparison of features, functions. And by the way, I think a company like LexisNexis should be on your list of potential acquirers. One of the later slides, you kept your two markets separated very well for a while, but then there was a slide, slide 8, where you were mixing B2B and B2C, which I found confusing to see where you really were, what traction you really have. So, but
Thank you.
Exciting business.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks so much, Stan. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate the presentation. Our next presenter is going to come up, Jay Newton-Small of Plan Allies. Jay?
Hi.
Hi there, Jay. Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to your slides here.
Thanks so much, Hal. Can you guys all see this?
We see it now. If you want to put in presentation mode, you're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. All right. Can everyone see that?
We can now.
Great. So hi, my name is Jay Newton-Small, and I'm CEO and founder of Plan Allies. Apology if there's any background noise behind me. I'm actually at an airport lounge right now, just flying from a conference in Tampa to back home to New Mexico. My background's actually in journalism, although Plan Allies is a healthcare company. I was 5 years at Bloomberg News covering the Bush White House and politics, and then 10 years at Time Magazine covering everything from the Obama White House to the Arab Spring. But it's my experience in journalism that I bring to healthcare. Essentially, Plan Allies is a software, a SaaS and AI-enabled SaaS product that trains call center representatives to move away from scripted calls and have open-ended conversations the way that journalists do, while collecting far superior data and giving a much better experience. There are tens of millions of calls mandated by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid annually, and currently scripts are the universal solution for that. The experience is so miserable that leads to churn, poor, within the plans, poor data collection, bad star ratings, and underserved populations that just aren't really connected to at all. So the cost of churn is actually enormous. It's a $59 billion problem by 2028 for Medicare Advantage plans. There were, 12 years ago, there were about 500 Medicare Advantage plans. There's now, as of next year, more than 8,000 of them. So there's just a lot of competition for these lives, and they churn out pretty quickly when they see commercials with Joe Namath or Tom Selleck or Captain Kirk. Every lost member is $12,000 to $40,000 of revenue for that plan. So there's a big incentive to make sure that their members are more loyal. And that means that they need to speak to them in different ways. The current solutions out in the market are mostly digital solutions, things like chatbots, which aren't super effective for a population whose average age is 74 years old, and a quarter of whom are non-digital. So enter Plan Allies. We specialize in mostly post-enrollment engagement. So those folks who've just enrolled in a plan, in the first 30 to 90 days, they usually receive 3 to 4 calls, either from brokers or their staff members, the brokers, or from the plans themselves. Those include a welcome call, a health risk assessment, and a social determinants of health assessment. Right now, like I said, scripts are the current standard, and what our software does is it's actually a virtual assistant that gets that call center rep away from those scripts. We've downloaded all the benefits already into the software, so they're right at your fingertips. There's every opportunity when we talk to the members. If we hear that there's an issue, like we are talking to them about food insecurity, we would generally, if they say, well, I can't afford a turkey at Thanksgiving, we would then suggest a benefit. Do you know that you have subsidized in-home food delivery? Are you interested in that benefit? That pops up automatically thanks to our AI-driven software. We have really thought through all the questions on these surveys with a journalistic bent. So instead of asking somebody, for example, are you food insecure, which is a terrible question that no one knows how to answer, Our software would instead say, ask them about their favorite holiday traditions or their favorite family recipes and what are their barriers to doing those right now. So we integrate on top of Salesforce or your CRM. We've integrated with a bunch of CRMs, including Zoho, HubSpot, you name it. But this industry standard is generally Salesforce. We can work in more than 50 different languages, and depending on what call center reps you have using those languages. We then have the engagement, the open-ended conversation, the plan details that are right there. We actually, and then at the end of it, we record all of our conversations, and we're working with a scientist, thanks to a grant from the state of New Mexico, from Los Alamos, and we're building a language model that it does a predictive churn assessment. So how likely is this person to churn out of the plan? What are the areas? Where are they happy? Where are they unhappy? By using natural language processing screens on all of those calls. So we are the only ones that really move folks away from scripts, and we consider that our moat. There are folks like Engage Us that will do, sort of listen in on your calls, make recommendations on how to speak to people better, or generally ask questions better. Or folks like Clarabridge that do that as well, do sentiment analysis. There's other folks who would download the plan details into their software, like Decision Point and Sunfire, but we're the only ones that really work to move away from those terrible scripts completely and have open-ended conversations, which yields, frankly, much better data in terms of tone and intentionality for our natural language processing screeners. It's vastly different from those calls where you just, you're calling somebody up and just can't wait to get off the line because this is a miserable experience for them. So we've deployed our software for the first time this past summer in July, and month over month, we've seen a 10% reduction in churn in Medicare Advantage enrollees. On average, we've seen a 24% reduction in call time. People love the conversations. We have a net promoter score of 92. We've seen an increase in call rep productivity of 17%, an increase in call rep job satisfaction in 35%, and then also a reduction in call center training time by 90%. So we've seen a huge already return on value. We price in a classic SaaS way about $25,000 for an onboarding fee, which does the integration into the CRM, and then $2,500 per seat annually, which we charge quarterly. We see 85% margins, and in 2025, we anticipate $6 million in gross revenue. Our first go-to-market is really field marketing organizations. These engagement calls post-enrollment can either be done by brokers and FMOs or by the payers themselves. So FMOs are the shortest sales cycle, which is why we've been focusing on them. And our first big client is the national FMO. And then after that, we see payers, and then we've got a lot of those in our pipeline, as you see. And then we also think this is a great solution for providers. And so that's our next go-to-market early next year. And that also gets us away from those sales cycles where everything is like during open enrollment comes to a standstill because everybody's so swamped. There's a ton of, frankly, but really terrible surveys that are across healthcare upon which reimbursement is predicated that can be disrupted by this. So we are, really classically bringing down our operating expenses, increasing our revenues, and on a really great trajectory right now. As I said, we've launched for the first time this summer with our national FMO. They loved us so much, they went from an initial launch of 5 seats to expansion to a 50-seat expansion, and now we've signed a 2-year, 200-seat contract with them. They've also launched us into additional segments, including their Affordable Care Act segment, which is literally 20 times larger than their Medicare business. And then they've also introduced us to 5 of their partners, and we're in contract negotiations with them. If we can get just 4 out of those 5 partners in the first quarter of next year, we'll hit break even. So this is our product roadmap. Like I said, we have this great AI model, which I want to highlight, that down the road, we can become a data as a service. And so launching insights, taking other people's recordings, giving you insights on like how happy these people are, how likely they are to churn. And then even down the road, it can become an IVR. So like something that is a bot themselves. Although I like humanity and healthcare personally, I think it's a good thing. We are the perfect people to do this, a group of journalists, technologists, folks with more than 50 years of startup experience, as well as clinical experience. So it's definitely a great set of folks. Dan Alloway, I'll just note, our chief product officer, is also a co-founder of Cannondale Bikes way back in the day, if you're a big biker, as well as founding Systems for PT 20 years ago, which is an ambulatory EMR. So other exits here, you know, Eliza Health at a 20, at 170 million, Twistle at 104. Those are 20x and 10x returns. And then we already have in our pipeline folks who could acquire us and have already expressed some interest. So that's exciting. We are currently raising a seed extension round. We raised a $2.5 million round led by Argon Ventures out of Boston in February of 2021. They've been incredible helping us through a pivot from our initial company, MemoryWell, which worked in nursing homes, to this product, Plan Allies. We're now raising a 1.75 max million round that will get us to full product market fit and a robust Series A by the end of 2024. So this round just reopens the previous round, with Argon keeping our valuation flat at 9.25 million. We've already closed the first 500,000 of this, including investment from Keystone, and we have about $1 million left in the round. And that is Plan Allies. I would love to take your questions.
Great. Thanks, Jay. Dan, what's your first question?
Great presentation, Jay. Very interesting business. Can you tell us more about your go-to-market plans, marketing, sales? It sounded like it was all direct sales.
So we do generally, you know, like a lot of conferences. So for example, I just spoke at the RISE Population Health Conference in Tampa. I'll be going in 2 weeks' time to the RISE conference on star ratings in San Diego. I'm just getting back to that slide. So it's a lot of conferences that is pretty key to this. I also have a pretty great personal Rolodex from covering the Affordable Care Act passage and the passage of Medicare Part D in Washington. So one of our first big clients and contracts is actually Scan Plans, because I knew Sachin Jain, the CEO, back from my time in DC.
You have any marketing partners lined up, or possibilities?
So we do a lot of co-marketing with Trusty Care, which is another patient engagement digital app. So they do all the digital side, and we would do like more of the personalized side. We also have just a ton of conferences lined up in the near future.
Great.
Thanks, Dan. Dave, what's your first question?
Yeah, first of all, I like your background being, as a journalist. I think that's really cool. And I used to read Time magazine religiously, just to let you know. So I'm, prejudiced for you already. So tell me a little more about your traction right now in your revenue.
So we have this first initial contract with Keystone that's it's $120,000 a year. So it's
I just want to know your revenue. I don't need the background. I just want to know what the revenue is today.
Yeah,
and how are you on target for that?
10,000 MRR today, right now, and we're on target to grow to 40,000 MRR in the first quarter of next year.
Okay. Now you said you're going to need an additional $15 million before an exit, right?
That's our anticipation. Well, we would raise this round right now, and so it would be an additional sort of 12 to 13 million, essentially.
All right. So if you're asking for 9.2 million posts, and my quick calculation on an exit would be maybe when you're at 2020 and 2026, 2027, you're probably talking about an exit value of about $125 million.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. If that's the case, and you need an additional round where we get diluted, it won't hit our target of trying to get a 10x return on the investment.
Well, so you're buying in at a different time than a Series A round, right? So you're getting in at a much higher value, at a much lower valuation.
Getting in at 9.2, right?
No, that's a 9.2 post money. So pre-money, it would be more like a 6.
No, it's post money is the only thing we care about. That's what I get, right?
Okay,
I'm at 9.2 million. And if I'm at 9.2 million and you're going to raise another, just for argument's sake, 20, 30%, you're going to dilute me by X percent. It's really close to where we see the opportunity for a good exit. And we look at things in terms of the business. And I do believe you have something there with using your AI. But the problem that I see is the potential. I would still apply to TCA. I would put it in and I would apply probably do on techcoastangels.com and apply to Orange County, because we'll let the medical people take a look at it.
TechCoastAngels.com, Orange County.
Huh?
Sorry, you're saying TechCoastAngels.com, Orange County?
Yeah, you go on techcoastangels.com, select under, say, entrepreneur, select under, click entrepreneur, and it'll say, put your profile in, you put your profile in, and then you can select who you want to send it to. But that's what I would do and see where it winds up. I think it's going to be really tight relative to the valuation vis-a-vis the exit. That's my point.
Well, I mean, I will say we're going to break even the first quarter of next year, and how much we need to raise to exit.
I'm really glad for that, but I'm just telling you how we look at things.
Okay, got it.
Great.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know that we'll need to raise that much money, depending. It will depend, right?
Again, you're on the periphery anyway without the raise.
Okay.
If you're on that, you have even a different problem. And I think you will need to raise more money to really get into the market, my opinion.
Okay.
Jay, continuing on Dave's long-term exit kind of focused, did you show us long-term revenue projection?
So is this slide right here.
Yeah. So $12 million revenue in 4 years, 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the fundamental drive. That's not overly ambitious, let's say. It's not doesn't blow me away. And that's probably the driver behind limited exit potential.
Yeah, you're going to be exited based upon a multiple of revenue or EBITDA. And you're going to need it to really generate. I'm just leveraging what Dan just said. And it's just, you'll need more money to really get into the market and be able to spur additional usage. And then you get taken out by CRM or Salesforce, whatever.
Given the business that you're in, and we haven't discussed this much, but the B2B business selling to big customers, significant customers, I can imagine a story where you could convince yourself and maybe others that you can actually do better than this.
We think our forecasts are pretty modest, honestly.
Yeah,
right now we've got United Health has already dedicated funds for a pilot in the first quarter of next year, and we're in MSA contract negotiations with them to start in January. They're bringing back on shore 500,000 calls from the Philippines, which they outsourced their calls 15 years ago. And they saw almost 40% rapid disenrollment during open enrollment this year. It's a huge churn, is a huge problem for them. And if they do, if they bring back on shore those calls and it does well, then they'll bring back on shore all their calls for Medicare Advantage. And that would be a massive contract. So, I mean,
so the point that Dan's raising is don't conservatize yourself to death. Be realistic and have a couple of different an upside opportunity and a downside risk. But what I'm hearing you saying, I mean, I hate to jump in. I'm sorry, Dan, but
we're on the same note.
Fundamentally, we see, well, we're going to be a $6 billion operation in 1 year, and then we see others that are just so mousy, no offense, that it doesn't make any sense. So be realistic. Look at a few different options and take a look at your risks and how you're going to be able to drive the revenue and the EBITDA to that point in time. Because we look at things on exit. We don't really care about, I don't care about the break even that much, all the other stuff. That's noise level. I only care about, is it a good business? Is it scalable? And is it investable? And investability means, what the hell am I going to do in my return? And if you start putting in additional financing, then I have a dilution. And if it's a dilution, I'm losing my potential. So you got to think as an angel or an investor in this point.
Okay.
Great point, guys. Thanks so much for that. We're at the end of our time. With that, let's move to our final presenter, Dave Withers of Sofant.
Yeah, so David Wither, I'm the CEO of Sofant Technologies, which is based in Edinburgh in Scotland. Sofant is developing a mobile satellite communications terminal. And so mobile satellite connectivity is essential for a growing number of commercial and government opportunities. SATCOM terminals with low size, weight, power consumption, and cost are absolutely critical for this $20 billion market opportunity. We have developed a terminal which provides our customers with a greater than 10x performance advantage at about half the cost. So you can imagine we're attracting significant interest. We have a strong customer pipeline, which includes a contract with Viasat to develop an aircraft-mounted communications terminal, which gives us visibility on $5 million in future revenues. So when you think about Sofant, think about high throughput data connectivity and mobility. So we are providing connectivity to planes, boats, and trains. And beyond, in the future, we see autonomy as a very large market. The key differentiator for Sofant is we're developing terminals which provide connectivity across geostationary, medium Earth orbit, and low Earth orbit satellite networks. So again, it's a multi-orbit terminal. If you look at our total available market, it's 20 billion. Our serviceable market is in excess of 11 billion. But the obtainable market, where we think we are going to be a dominant market share player, is in excess of $1.5 billion. We're initially targeting multi-orbit connectivity applications where geostationary connectivity is an essential part of that. So remember, our GEO terminal will connect to GEO, MEO, and LEO. LEO's low Earth orbit satellite terminals only connect to LEO networks, right? So that's a big key distinguishing factor for our technology. Low size, weight, power consumption, and cost are absolutely critical to these markets. This includes government, commercial aircraft markets, commercial and government marine, and also kind of a generic catch-all of comms on the move. And this really covers, if you look at our serviceable market opportunity, it's about 35,000 units. In 2031, average selling price to begin with of these terminals is in the neighborhood of 60,000. By the time we get down to the 2031 timeframe, we expect that'll be in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. The challenge that the market has with existing legacy mechanical antennas is they're very large, they're heavy, they're bulky, they require professional installation and maintenance. You can develop the type of electronically scanned phased array antenna that we're developing using legacy semiconductor technology, but they they consume enormous amounts of power, generate a lot of heat, and that's a major problem for our customers. So if you look at Sofant's technology, we have our core technology is a RF, radio frequency microelectromechanical system. It is a semiconductor-based technology. That means it scales into high volume and can be low cost. It enables us to make the industry's smallest, lightest weight terminal. And again, because it is a semiconductor-based technology, it scales and is low cost with volume. When we compare ourselves to the competition using similar specification terminals, we differentiate ourselves on our RF MEMS technology. There's several ways to develop this type of antenna, but when we evaluate ourselves the way our customers look at us and our competitors, they're looking at size, weight, and power consumption. So what we've developed is a figure of merit. And if you multiply size times weight times power, you come up with this figure of merit, which is the last row in this table. And what you see is we have a greater than 10x performance advantage on our closest competitor. We have significant intellectual property in terms of patents, but probably the most significant IP the company has is the trade secret process technology that we've developed to manufacture the MEMS. It's very difficult and tricky technology to produce, but we're now ready to scale this into production next year. We have several proof points in the market. European Space Agency is a significant supporter of the company. 7.3 million euro contract with them about 18 months ago, provides a significant amount of non-dilutive funding. Viasat, I mentioned that deal earlier. We expect Viasat over time will become a $100 million customer. Similar conversation with SES. Paradigm is one of many channel partners that we're developing, and we are now also engaged with BAE Systems. And these other customers will develop into multi-million-dollar customers, we believe, in the future. The team is very highly experienced in radio semiconductors, RF semiconductors, high-volume semiconductor manufacturing, and new product introduction. Myself, I've got a background. This is my third CEO position. The first two companies that I was involved in were floated on public markets in the UK and in Sweden. Vic and Andrew Christie, I've known them for 25 years. They're absolute experts in this area. And Gary Morton joined us as our VP of Ops, high volume semiconductor background a couple of years ago, and Blair's our CFO. This gives you an idea where we are in time. We're planning to raise a Series A at the end of Q1, beginning of Q2 next year. That will take us through into commercial revenues, which you see our launch our first product. It's back half of 24. We expect the aircraft terminal to launch in early 25. And then we have another product we're looking at in mid 25. The company is generating revenues now. This year will generate approximately $2 million in revenue. We have a March year end. Today, the revenues are they are engineering and contract related revenues. We'll start to generate our first commercial revenue in 2025 through the sale of satellite communications terminals. We have several exit opportunities. We see exits coming either from defense contractors. This is a very hot topic in the defense community today. There are several RF semiconductor companies, which we are already engaged with, who also are interested in this type of technology. We could also see it come from, a satellite network operator or a company like Nokia or Ericsson, because as we evolve in the future, satellite communications becomes a critical part of the communications infrastructure. So in summary, it's a compelling equity story. We're enabling a $20 billion market, which is transitioning to mobility. It's a critical technology for existing SATCOM operators as they're expanding their applications. We're raising up to $5 million right now on a convertible loan note with a 10% interest and a 15% discount. That's going to bridge the company until Q2 next year, when we expect to raise our Series A. And for comparable public company valuation for pure play SATCOM company, you can look at Intellian. Recent valuation on that company is around $570 million. So I am happy to answer any of your questions.
Thanks, David. Dave Friedman, what's your first question?
Yeah, I hate to tell you, I have a background in this whole market. I worked on selective reject aloha protocols back in '82 in the first VSATs.
Yeah, I heard that in your intro. So I had an expectation for some good questions.
Yeah, so I wish I know Melco, I know ThinCom, I know Starling, I know Viasat quite well. I put internet on airplanes, so I'm and I'm an engineer, so I like where you're going with the multi-orbit. I think I'm not sure about going from a TCA point of view, not my engineering background, because if you were around when I was putting this shit on the Boeing planes, I would still be employed by Boeing, because the Melco antennas were so bloody heavy, you had to take 3 passengers off a plane, which was a problem. But I think you're onto something. I don't know about the revenue. I don't know about what's the valuation of your company right now.
So we just closed an internal round. So post money on that was around 40 million US. There's been 24 million US invested in the business to date.
Yeah, so I can give you a quick thing. I think maybe if I were in Boeing or Viasat, I would think that would be great, because you're competing against things with the figure of merits that you show that are phenomenal. From an investability point of view, from TCA, you're out of our league. It's out of the league of most of the angels. I would be up in the valley screwing around with them. That's unfortunately, I love what you're doing. If I could only go back in a time machine and redo what we were doing with that bloody Melco antenna, it would be a different story. But because we were looking at the semiconductor phase array, they were just so expensive, like $1 million a copy at the time. So anyway, I love it. But unfortunately, as they say on Shark Tank, I'm out, because it's just out of my parameters.
Okay.
But I wish you the best. I sincerely do. I think it's the right stuff.
Thanks, Dave. Dan, what's your question?
Well, I'll joust with Dave in terms of background in related industry. And the year before, 1981, I was working on portable radios for cell phones. So I completely agree, though, with Dave that this size of investment, this valuation is beyond the sweet spot for angels, and you should be dealing with VCs pretty much only, really, except for unique circumstance. My my main question, just out of curiosity, is you said you're going to start production next year.
That's correct.
Who's producing this? Have you got some contract fab who's going to do it for you, and not yourself?
Yes.
I assume.
Yeah, so there's the MEMS device is being produced by a company called Silex, which is the world's largest pure play MEMS foundry. It's actually based in Europe. Our RF semiconductor chips are coming from Infineon, so they're our fab partner there. And the satellite communications terminal, we're building it at a company called Plexus, so they're a contract electronics manufacturer.
Great. Okay. I think that's it is an exciting technology, very deep tech, and probably, as Dave said, Silicon Valley is the right place to look for your VC investors.
Yeah, well, I would appreciate it. I mean, if you guys have any thoughts on who I should talk to, I'd appreciate it. And so
Yeah,
I know, Dave, you've got some.
I would go to the biggies. I'd go to Andreessen. I'd go to Closa Ventures.
Yeah.
I'd go to, what's the name, 24. I'm trying to remember. I don't have real great contacts of people up there, but you know, I think you're onto something. You also may want to look at Boeing Ventures. Boeing may invest in stuff like this. I don't know. They may or may not. Also, you know, Airbus EAD would maybe invest. VSAT, you know, Viasat may be putting some money in on some kind of an agreement. I would, because remember, they not only have the antennas on birds, they have a rural group that would look at small earth stations for internet. The other thing I'd look at is grants from the REA, because the Rural Electrification Agency may also fund you to bring in internet into, less populous areas. And if you're talking 15, 20 grand a terminal, man, that's really cheap.
Yeah.
You can also degrade your terminal in a sense, because you don't need the multiple steerability.
Yeah, the mobility makes it very challenging, and that's kind of why we started there first, because it is the hardest. Once we solve that problem, the rest of the stuff is relatively straightforward. It's all hard, right?
I get it.
But that's where we started.
Those are just some thoughts that I have. I mean, it would be kind of fun to do this again, but you brought back me about 30 years now.
Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't bad memories.
No, it was very good memories. I mean, I was a satellite engineer at one time. Not systems engineer, not a satellite engineer per se.
Yeah. It's an exciting space for sure. Very exciting space. Yeah.
Great, Dave. Well, thanks for your presentation.